All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, guys, welcome to episode number 61 of the Conquer Me podcast. I'm super excited to be sitting with my good buddy Matt here today. This is a brand new connection for me. And you, Matt, you and I met over Facebook, right? Is how we initially connected. And guys, I want you to hear from this guy today because as you know, this show it's obviously called Conquer Me, and it's about just that. It's about finding people who have had to overcome adversity and they've come out on the other side and made something beautiful out of it. And dude, you're a great example of that. I'm excited for people to hear your story, but then I'm also super pumped to get into some of the realness and the rawness of identity and how that's tied to success in different areas of our life, because I think you have a lot to offer on that topic. So man, welcome to the show.
First off, Jay, I'm really, really humbled. Anybody that wants to hear me run my face is mind-boggling to me, since I've gotten in trouble for it my whole life. But it was a blessing. We had to connect via Facebook, and then to sit down and break bread with you, and just so much alignment in our stories. It was really cool.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think we share a lot of the same philosophies and ideas, and we were kind of finishing each other's sentences, which is always cool. When you get around someone like that, you're like, where the hell's this person been all my life? Like where he's me and I'm him, which is cool. If you can create a circle like that where you have a lot of people in your circle, it becomes very fulfilling and empowering. So I was excited when you reached out through Facebook, and we were able to get together, and I kind of saw those connections. I'm like, all right, this is not going to be the end of this. This is the beginning of something really awesome. Two people who are in the industry of coaching, who want to see people do better and be better, who feel like they're called to do better and be better. And we help facilitate that. So yeah, man, super excited about that. I want to start out. I know a good bit of your story, and it was like super intriguing to listen to. And I want other people to hear a snippet of that. So why don't we start with you just taking a few minutes? I mean, when people see someone like you, they're going to go, man, Matthew's got it together. Like the dude's super fit. He's a stud. He's running a successful business. Like he's firing on all cylinders. He's a coach. He's creating all this content. People who are in the struggle can sometimes look at someone like that and it's hard to identify. They're like, man, like, I don't know, that guy's got it all together, but I can never be like that. I want you to tell the listeners where you came from, and you can start wherever you want. You can get into the military stuff. I'd love for you to share some of your struggles with alcohol and the things that you went through there. Let's talk about the man that you were before you went through the transition to be who you are now.
Wow, there's a lot to cover. I'm going to
Big
start,
question.
yeah. I'm going to start with this past weekend.
Awesome.
So often we hear that, man, that guy's got it together, that lady's got it together, and they're firing all cylinders. Sometimes all cylinders is two.
Mm.
And I'm going to start off with people need to learn to give themselves grace and accept where they are. Am I doing fairly well financially? Yes. Am I doing fairly well in my purpose and my calling now? Yes. Am I blessed beyond anything I ever imagined? Yes. I get to spend my life now helping other people get unstuck and overcome. And that is a beautiful thing. Did I wake up last night? Did I wake up Saturday night screaming, covered in sweat from nightmares? Yeah, I did. Did I break down Saturday in tears? Yes. Yes, I did. We are all struggling. We are all just doing the dadgum best we can. And we need to realize that. And the quicker we can embrace that, the sooner we can all start working together. Because this is a cooperation, not a competition.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And I do have a PhD. I like to say that, but that's because I'm a professional hypocrite delivered. I've been in the fitness industry for 16 years, and for a lot of it, I was a raging alcoholic, and for about half of it, I was coked out of my mind. I was waking up in the back of my SUV in the gym parking lot, doing a rail of cocaine just to get up, doing bumps in between clients just to make it through the dadgum day, and then repeating the cycle over and over and over again, honestly, in an endless nightmare.
Mm,
And the implied thing there that nobody really wants to say, and I'll say it, I created the dadgum nightmare.
mm,
And that was by avoiding the sources of my problems and working on the symptoms. And man, I came from a great family. My parents were awesome. Could they have done better raising me? Maybe. But to the parents out there, I know you're just doing the best you can. So did mine. Um, and was I the kid that didn't really fit in anywhere? Yeah. Yeah, I was. Um, I lettered in multiple sports, but I never had a date. I didn't want to identify with the nerds, but I was one. I wanted to be a jock, but I wasn't.
mm.
I never went to prom. I got kicked out of middle school, kicked out of high school, just trying to be cool and trying to fit in. And I just wanted attention any way I could get it. And unfortunately, far too many of us do that. Did I go to college on a scholarship? Yep, sure did. Academic, not sports. Most people think when they see me at sports, nah, I have like no athleticism. Um,
You're a really smart dude, though.
what I didn't kill off, yeah, yeah.
A
I
few
actually
brain
had,
cells you have left.
yeah, whatever brain cells I have left, I'm very thankful for. I actually developed this philosophy based upon Darwinism that if alcohol killed brain cells, then survival of the fittest, it was only going to kill the dumb ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I went full Thanos on them and just exterminated all of them.
There
So
you
you guys get what's left. But I did go to college, and it was not something I ever wanted to do. At least not then. It's just what I was supposed to do, and far too many of us get caught in that trap. And that didn't work out very well. And so I bounced around for a little bit and then enlisted into the military 10 days before 9/11,
Mm.
and was quickly deployed, spent a couple years overseas, buried a lot of my friends, whether it was in action, um, probably more to suicide, to be fair.
And you were in the,
Um,
in the thick of combat, to be
yeah,
clear.
I was. And it was brutal. And we saw a lot of stuff and did a lot of stuff. I'm going to leave that there. There's no need to go into the nuance of that.
Well, I think
Uh,
it's important though that people know, and obviously we don't need to get in the weeds with it, but
yep.
when we get ready to talk about identity, I want you to hit on that and how maybe those struggles with identity come from some of those things. So yeah, you can move on, but I certainly want people to
Yeah.
understand
Well, I'll
trauma.
give you one story that may be crucial, and I wrote about it.
Yep.
But just a little story of being in a town called Samara, which was the dead center of the Sunni Triangle. It was icky. And we lost two Abrams. Not that I was in an Abrams unit, I was in a military police unit, non divisional, which means we didn't really have a lot of support.
Okay.
Um, and we had flak jackets from Vietnam, so no body armor in the beginning,
Hmm.
no doors on our Humvees, no armor. Um, and another unit lost two Abrams in a week.
Dang.
And so they told us to go in. And we were like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
Like, I don't even have a door.
Yeah.
And that's where we were told, like, an Abrams is worth this much. Each one of you is worth this much. The Abrams is worth more than you. Let's go.
Hmm.
Um, so when you want to really solidify, amongst other things in your life, where you feel like you may not matter, like that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yes.
Um, at the ripe old age of 20, So, um, and in our society, that's young. In previous societies, that's old. Um,
Hmm.
so, you know, with that, not to go down too many rabbit holes, but I got hurt, bouncing in and out of the hospital, back surgeries, other things of that nature. And I laugh at myself now because I became a walking cliche. The door kicking soldier that became an alcoholic drug addict that tried to kill himself.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's far too common.
It is. And there are resources out there if we want them. The inherent problem there is they're getting better at it, but what do you do with those things? You drink. And we're men. What were we taught? Drink, shut up, handle your crap.
Sedate, sedate, sedate. Yeah.
Yeah. So that it's weakness to talk about things. So um, I drowned myself. And for years, I would wake up in pools of sweat, screaming from nightmares, crying, covered in my own vomit from drinking so much. And then that morphed into, a really bad cocaine um, struggle,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. And it was an average of, for those of y'all who know, about 2 8 balls a week. My last year of alcohol and drug abuse, I spent about $84,900
Mm.
on substance abuse. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so at
And you were
one point,
functioning though during this time, right?
say
Like
again,
you were functional. Well, I say that loosely, but you were going to work, training clients, being the fitness guy, and an example for what a lot of people were looking to, right? To like, I need to look to this guy for guidance in my fitness, and internally everything was burning down.
that is where so many of us, in my opinion, we try to help others and lift them up and push them because it's easier than working on ourselves.
Right? And it's where we need it. We try to help other people fix what we need to fix
Right.
rather than fix it ourselves, which is interesting. Yeah.
It's people pleasing and helping others. It's a weird form of projection. And then when they don't take the help that we offer, the advice that we give them, we get angry at them. But really, the anger is just because we're pissed at ourselves because we can't do it either.
That's it.
Um, that manifested itself, glossing through it, to having to be inpatient for suicide.
Mm.
A whole nother time, putting the gun in my mouth, tasting that metal, pulling the trigger, and the gun not going off.
Mm.
And I was so ridiculously buried in my own crap that wasn't even enough to change me and wake me up.
Mm.
So when people are struggling, whether it be with anything, alcohol, drugs, food, any of those things, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And it's not over until it's over,
And
right?
sometimes it may never be over.
Yeah, if you're still here, you got a shot. I mean, that's the thing is
Mhm.
people get so discouraged. And I remember myself even being in that place where couldn't stop taking Adderall, couldn't stop, I spent all my money, I was in the middle of bankruptcy, felt like the total failure. And I'm just like, I don't, this can't get any worse. But until I end it, like I still have a shot. Right. And so there's people sitting there probably listening to this going, man, like you don't understand my life, my life, my life, my life. No, it's a season. And if you choose to stick it out and make some changes, there's certainly hope. So, and you're a great example of that.
Well, I appreciate it and I try. And it's true. Like things at some point, like I remember a friend saying to me, and he was a true friend because he was honest. I understand why you're doing this. I understand why you're angry. I understand why you're drowning yourself. I understand why you fight so much. I was fighting everybody.
Mm.
But at some point, you have to accept it and handle it. And at some point in everybody's life, we're a victim.
Yeah.
At some point. But staying a victim is a choice. Things are going to happen to us in our lives that are far out of our control. And the funny thing is, I chose to sign the dotted line. So at no point there was I a victim, but I
Yeah.
made myself one. And there was a lot to handle. I'm still handling it. Um, but at some point we have to realize, in my opinion, that things are going to happen to you. But after that, it's your responsibility to handle it,
Yep.
no matter if you caused it or not. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. But it's freedom.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where the transformation starts. It's like was thinking about this morning, just about your story and our conversation coming up, and I'm like, man, like trying to put myself where you were at in so many different places where there's been traumatic events, and of course, combat is one of the worst that I know I'll never understand. You can sit here and try to imagine it all you want and watch movies and whatever, but like I won't even pretend to understand what that would be like. But then even the drug use and all the things, and what most people do is they try to leave that stuff behind. And they try to go, oh well, it happened, and I'm moving on. Well, really, what you have to do is go back and face it and go, hey, like this is what it is, but now you can change the story about it. So the facts are the facts. People lost their lives. People were things happened that happened in war or whatever the case is. Like it is what it is. But now you have the opportunity to either carry the story that's going to cause you to blow your brains out, like many unfortunately people do, or you figure out a way to reframe that allows you to go from in your mind a monster, as you stated and during our conversation, to leveraging that experience to put yourself in power and to eventually be able to save the next man who may be considering putting the gun in his mouth, right? Like when we go face those things and we reframe them, now we're in position to move forward. But until we deal with it, man, it's like I was having a conversation this morning. I said people go around trying to treat their symptoms. I can't stop eating at night. I can't stop drinking alcohol. I need to do the next diet program or the next thing. It's like, no, remember that time when you were abused when you were 6 that you've never gone back and dealt with that? That's the problem. You got to figure out how to get back and face those things. And it's hard, man, but that's the whole that's the game. It's like figuring out how to reframe, tell yourself different stories so that you can move on. And I know you've done that. We've talked about that. So
It is hard. And the thing that nobody really talks about is going back and facing those things. One of the reasons that people don't face them is the saying the pain of change must become greater than the pain of remaining the same before someone will change. And going back to face those things typically is actually harder in the short term than sitting in it and
yeah,
staying the way we are.
for sure.
But in the long run, it's not. In the long run, it's worth it. So we have to say, am I willing to endure this short term? And as we say in the military, embrace the suck,
Yeah.
face it until you make it, not fake it until you make it, face it, get your butt kicked. You're already getting your butt kicked. So just get it kicked in a different way. Shed a lot of tears, have a good support community, and face these things. And it's what happens if you get a wound and you're working in the yard and you get a wound and you just leave it open and untreated and don't clean it, it festers and it gets infected and the rest of your body can get infected. And it's the same thing that's happening with these traumas and these things that we endure during life. And people go, oh, well, I've learned to cope. Cope is just a modern way of saying I'm limping through life. You've been limping for so long, you don't even know what it feels like to walk right anymore.
It's good,
You
man.
never faced it. You're not operating the way you should and the way that you were created to. And you're freaking worth it.
Mm, so good, man. Yeah, the whole survival, like it's sad to see. You and I share a similar belief, and that is that every single person is created on purpose with a purpose that is so magnificent that if we could even see a small glimpse of it, it would totally blow our minds and blow everything out of the water about who we think we are, what we think we're capable of, what our potential is. Like we don't even have a clue, bro. Like we we're just trying to get to work and come home and not eat the dessert at night, and like there's just so much more going on eternally and behind the scenes, and I think you and I believe that. And so being a person who can see that potential and understands that, dude, it is so hard to watch somebody suffer and not live and not thrive and just go, yeah, hey, how you doing, man? I'm making it. Well, damn, is that the best you can do? Is make it? Like, there's so much more to this game than just making it. But to kind of segue into the identity piece, a lot of this comes from their identity is still rooted in their past. What they did, what they believed, who they hung out with, what experiences they had. They think that that's who they, even what they do today. Well, I'm just a janitor, or I'm just a whatever the thing is that they associate being not enough with, and that's how they're showing up, right? And so you had the opportunity to do that. I mean, you were a drug addict, an alcoholic like me. um Lives were lost, horrible things were done in combat that you can never change. Like, it'd be very easy for you just to go, well, that's who I am, and that's all there is to it. But we all have those lesser versions of ourselves that we can attach to, but we have to choose not to. So talk about that, man. Like, talk about how you came from that guy to now obviously reframing everything about your life experience in the whole, like, human experience, to where you are now and what you believe about yourself now, because you beam, brother, with confidence. You have a serving spirit. You're an incredible coach. You love, like, just from our conversations, you're super passionate about pouring into people's lives. You're making these reels every day that you don't have to make. You make enough money. You have a big enough, platform at this point. You can get clients. You don't have to walk around outside and pour value into people for free, but you do that stuff. What changed? What's that evolution from going from that guy over here to this guy over here to who you are today?
First, again, I'm humbled with all those things that you said, because I know you mean them. There's no lip service and no placating here, and neither one of us do that. Um, you're dead on. My identity was of somebody that did not matter, and I
Mm,
was a monster. And my actions aligned with somebody that did not matter and that was a monster,
mm.
which is the basis of my coaching now. Not teaching people to be monsters. No, that's not the one. Unless
Savages,
it's
not
yeah,
monsters.
yeah, right. Um, but it all started, man. I had gone through the whole I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna quit, I need to stop. This is the time. This is it. This is where I change my life for the best. I'm sure you or anybody listening to this has never said that.
Yeah. January
And
1st.
then maybe it lasts 2 days, maybe it lasts a month, maybe it lasts a year, and then you go right back.
Yep.
Because my identity was still that of that. And I mean, it was Memorial Day 2 years ago, so not too long ago, really. I mean, I was just at a client's pool, and I knocked out a 24 pack and a couple drinks with them, and then I knew the neighbor and ordered an 8 ball, and then the client's husband saw me with blow all over my face and just all this ridiculous stuff, man. And that was it. And then, well, it wasn't it. And then met with a business partner, and she's like, "Well, I lost him again." Um, and just to go on and just kept going. And then I was stopping again after a weekend of just crying and vomiting for 30 days profusely that I'm going to die and I can't do this anymore. And that was a Sunday that I decided I was going to stop. And then here we are, it's Wednesday and I'm drinking again.
Mm.
Because it's a pretty day, and that's the cue: craving, response, reward. Like, the cue is it's pretty outside. The response was I need to order some wine, blah, blah, blah. We'll go into that later.
Yep.
But um, my friend at the time, person I was seeing, it's about 2 hours later. I was like 8 or 9 drinks in, and she said, "Matthew, I think it's time to go." I was like, "Well, there's a band coming." She's like, "In 3 hours." Like, seriously.
You're already
And
gone.
yeah, it was a Wednesday night, and I had clients back in Columbia. I was in Charlotte. I had clients back in Columbia on Thursday morning at 5 o'clock. So I had to leave there at 3. And finally, she convinced me to leave. And I was sitting on the couch, and I said, "If I'd have stayed, I'd have shut that bar down, wouldn't I?"
Mm.
And she said, "Yeah." I said, "I'd have missed my clients in the morning, wouldn't I?" She said, "Yeah." And it just got my brain going. I was driving back to Columbia in the morning because I did make it. I started listening. I put on Offerings by Third Day, which is my favorite song and how I start every morning.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if you know the song, but the chorus is, I will give you my life, for it's all I have to give because you gave your life for me. And it's really hard to have a crappy day and not be centered when that's the song you listen to in the morning. So I just start weeping, man, like uncontrollably. And I start praying. And it was one of those things where I've always had faith. I've known he's real. But there's a massive difference between being a fan of Jesus, knowing he's real, and following him. And then there's another level of pursuing him. And in this moment, I just went to him and I said, God, I know I have a problem.
Mm.
I've known I have a problem. I know I'm not supposed to demand a sign for you, but if you'd give me one, that'd be really rad. Hating myself there a little bit.
Mm.
And I'm weeping and I'm listening and I'm driving and then I just start my day. And I start training and it's 9 o'clock and my client shows up late, but my attorney calls me and he's incredible. And he calls and he goes, Matthew, you sitting down? And I said, no, sir. He goes, you might want to. And I said, okay. And I don't. I'm walking around in the alleyway outside of my gym and I have a court case for a DUI from 3 years prior that's on the Monday. This is a Thursday. He goes, anyway, the whole point is the case is dismissed.
Mm. There's your sign.
4 hours after I prayed for a sign to quit. And I hit my knees in that alleyway right there. And I looked up and I said, I surrender.
Mm. Let's go, man.
Never again. Never again. I'm yours. And my client walked up and he goes, what's wrong with you? Because I got tears streaming down my face, kind of like my eyes are welling up right now. And I was like, I don't drink. He goes, okay. For what, 5 minutes? And I was like, no, like for good. He goes, okay. And nobody believed me.
Yep.
Well, excuse my language, but why in the hell should they?
Right. No evidence.
No evidence. And that's the thing that transitioned into my coaching is, why should you believe you?
Mm.
Like, to transition into what you do, we talk about credit score all the time, right? I know that's a big thing of yours. And you're going to, we're working, like, what is a credit score? It's a measure of trust, whether or not a business knows if you will repay your debt.
Yeah.
Well, what about your personal trust score?
Let's
My
go.
personal trust score was like a 4 out of 800. And that's where I had to start building belief. I hermited for a couple of weeks. It was like, oh, your life's going to get so much better. Dude, I lost money. My productivity plummeted. I went into a hole. And it sucked.
Mm.
It was horrible. It was because I had to do the one thing that I had not done in 14 years. And that is slow the heck down and sit with myself.
Mm.
And that is one thing I see in people, man. They're so dadgum busy running to and fro, and there's FOMO this and FOMO that, and they're missing out on the one thing they really need, and that is stillness.
Mm. Let's
And
go.
there's a reason he said, be still and know.
Yeah. Mm. So, guys, I hope you're getting a hold of this. How in the world are we supposed to believe that we're these amazing creations and we're going to do all these amazing things? And when we get excited about our New Year's resolution on January 1st, and we go, I'm changing my life, I'm fixing my marriage, I'm not going to drink anymore, I'm going to quit watching porn. I'm like, yeah. And then 2 days later, you're sitting in front of the TV, jacking off, drinking a beer. Like, why does that happen? And sorry, ladies, if you're listening to this, men will relate. Why does that happen? You don't believe you. because you have no evidence to prove that you can actually stick to something that you commit to, because maybe you've never done it. If you were like me a decade ago and yesterday or the day before or last week, there are probably things that you've said you were going to do that you had good intentions of doing, but then you didn't follow through on. So what happens? What happens when your friend tells you that they're going to show up to the party on Saturday and they don't show up? And then the next time they say, hey, I'm going to be at the party on Saturday. You go, nah, I don't know, 50-50 chance. Then they don't show up again. And then the next time they say they're going to show up and they don't show up, man, now I don't even know if I believe this guy at all, 25% chance. Now imagine, guys, if you've done the diet over and over and over and you said you're going to change. This is it. This is it. This is it. And you don't commit, don't commit, don't commit, don't commit. Eventually you end up with an identity of someone who doesn't follow through on what they set, out to do and the goals that they set, and you begin to believe that that is true about you, and arguably there's evidence to support that that's who you are today. So how do you change that?
Yes to everything you said. I think to give people understanding of why they sorry about that. It is this. I understand why you don't.
Hmm.
Because we are taught to keep our word to others. We are never taught to keep our word to ourselves. So you were taught this. I understand. Now it's your responsibility to reprogram it. How do you do that? Simple, not easy. Most people, let's start with where most people are. Most people start with these big and lofty goals. Stop it.
Total transformation.
Stop it. Let's build small.
Hmm.
Let's go back to the money thing. If the IRS audits you, because every time you say you're going to do something, you have to audit yourself, and your mind is doing it, whether you know it or not.
Hmm.
If the IRS audits you, you got to give them receipts. You got to give them proof. So how do we get receipts and proof for ourselves? Little baby things. If you set that dadgum alarm for 6:15, wake up at 6:15. But if you've been waking up at 8, set the dadgum thing for 7:45.
Hmm.
Right? And well, I hit the snooze button 3 times first. So your first decision of the day was I'll do it later. Your first decision of the day is no. No wonder your day sucked.
which
I'm
just
being very blunt right
reinforces
now, but of
which just reinforces what you already think about yourself
course
every
it did.
step.
Most clients, and I know you get the same thing. How many times a week are you going to work out? I'm going to work out 5. You've been working out none. Stop it.
0 to 5.
0 to 5. Fantastic. No, no, be nice to yourself. I'm being blunt, but I mean this. What I ask clients is this: what is your bare minimum amount of times that you're going to work out? What do you mean? Well, if the world is ending and life is crazy, if it's in its most hectic, I like people to start their fitness journey when life is at its craziest.
Hmm.
Because if you can do that, then when life cuts you a little slack, or more likely you just get better at it, then you can coast, then you can cruise through anything. So if somebody says, well, my bare minimum's 2, awesome. Well, Jay, I'll ask you, let's say you're just starting out, right? And you tell me 5, but your minimum is 2. If you go 3 times when you said you wanted to go 5, did you succeed or fail?
I'm crushing it.
Say what?
I'm crushing it at that point.
If you tell me 5, but you go 3,
Oh no, I'm failing miserably.
do you think you're probably going to keep going a month from now if that's what you're doing?
No.
Okay. Now, if we set you at a minimum of 2 and a goal of 3, because the word goal has a built-in failure factor that nobody acknowledges. You're allowed to fail at a goal. You're not allowed to fail at a minimum. So if you say your minimum is 2, but you go 3, now what are you doing?
Now I'm winning.
Do you think maybe over time that minimum might become 3 and then you might start going 4?
Absolutely.
Now you're building proof. If in another way, We look at building proof, set little things like we look at 75 hard. I'm not a fan. There's a reason 95% of people fail at it. Let's go 45 flaccid. So instead of saying, I'm going to read for an hour, what if you read for a page? And you really got into the book? Do you think maybe you might just get engrossed and you look up and you read for 5? Good for you. Good. It is enough. Because we hear that, well, 15 minutes of workout isn't enough. Enough for what?
Right.
And that's where we have to just be kind to ourselves and set realistic expectations, set realistic minimums, and focus on, in my opinion, raising the floor. Everybody's focused on raising the ceiling. Screw the ceiling. You're going to fall. You're going to stumble. You're going to skin your knee. But how do we not feel like we're starting over every time? Raise the floor. And just get better at that. And eventually you'll be standing on the dadgum roof.
Yep. So good, man.
Like, did I have at any point any dream of speaking on stage in front of hundreds of people? No, it's ridiculous. Did I have any dream that like I would have 5 podcasts scheduled in the next 2 weeks? No, what are you talking about? Like less than 2 years ago, I was coked out of my mind, puking on myself. But I've just been building proof, not only in myself, but in others. But why should anybody believe you if you don't believe it either? But there's one thing I do want to say, and then I'm going to shut up. It's this. You are worth changing. You're worth building proof. You're worth making those baby steps. And where people discount far too often baby steps. You have children. What's the most monumental step?
First one.
So why don't we give ourselves credit for that either?
Preach, bro.
Baby steps are the biggest ones, and you're gonna stumble and you're gonna fall and you're gonna bust your knee open and you're gonna cry and it's gonna hurt. But just like your kids, get up and cherish every moment. And what do? They stumble, they fall, they laugh, they look at you, they hold their hands up and they keep going. Just keep going. And next thing you know, you'll be stumbling and you'll be walking and then you'll be running. And you're still going to fall. We all fall when we run. But at least you'll know how to get back up. So just keep going.
Love it, man. So good, man. And guys, I want you to understand too that, habit change and transformation is not linear. It's not like the whole, 28, it takes 28 days to change a habit or 62 days or whatever all the things say. That's about as far from the truth as you could possibly get. There are so many variables when it comes into changing a habit, right? Is it banging heroin into my veins as a habit, or is it watching too much TV? Those are two vastly different. So should I take 28 days for one and 62 for the other? I mean, guys, these are just things people put out there for marketing and to create challenges, and I get it, right? Like it's a good mechanism to like get people's head around a time frame of, approximately how long it could take if I need to commit to something to maybe produce an outcome. Cool. But here's the truth. You make progress first, you're not even aware that you need to make progress. It's the guy who drinks every night and everybody in his family tells him he has a problem, but he doesn't have a problem. If you ask him, there's no problem. Well, why don't you have a problem? Well, I still go to work every day, so I don't have a problem. He's unaware that he even has a problem. And then he moves into the second stage where he's starting to consider and entertain the idea that there might be a problem. And he goes, I don't know. I did lose my job, so maybe there's a problem here. I'm becoming more aware. And then there becomes another stage where they go, okay, now I've got to do something about it. I've got to get a plan. And then there's the take action, and then there's the maintenance phase. And you go through all these phases, but the truth is we're always going in and out of these phases, progressing and regressing. And so, like, the trap is to think, I went X amount of days without eating the dessert because I've said that the dessert was so bad. And now I ate the dessert. So I must, none of that other progress matters. I'm still failing. It's like, no, you're just in a different, well, that's a whole nother topic because we can eat the dessert, right? You and I will both agree. Like, I don't even like to put that out there about, a dessert being bad or any other food. But as an example, guys, like, it's not linear. You're going to be kind of moving through these different phases of progress, and it's going to depend on what else is going on in life. Like, it's not perfect. The path is always going to be up and down, back and forth. When I start to really tighten up on my family and, like, man, I'm so laser focused on being the best dad and husband and, whatever that I can be, well, maybe my fitness takes a little bit of a hit until I have to go, whoa, 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 wait a minute. My fitness is taking a hit. Like, I need to do something about this. I need to tighten this up a little bit. And then I put some focus over here. So the idea that you need to be perfect and this thing is just going to be like, I can tell you right now, this dude on the other end of this podcast, on the other end of this microphone, he has some really shitty days where he just eats whatever, right? Like, I do things happen where he doesn't manage his emotions like he wants to, just like I do. Things happen where he doesn't give the best advice to his client, and later on he goes, man, like, I should have coached them up in a different way. Like, this process should not be expected to be perfect. So give yourself some grace and understand that the first step, as Matthew's saying, is the most important, but then it's one foot in front of the other. And when you hit a roadblock and you fall down, you get back up and you put one foot in front of the other. And over time, I'm telling you guys, you'll look back and you will be unrecognizable. If you keep committing to the little things. There's a great book, by the way, guys, called Many Habits. If you've never read Many Habits, you've got to get that book because it's outlining a lot of what he's talking about. And it is just setting realistic things that you can accomplish over and over and over again. Because here's what I've learned about coaching clients for a long time. If you look at the data and you take the clients who are just all or, the ones that go from 0 to 1,000 and like, they want to work out, 2 times a day and all they want to eat, yeah, chicken and broccoli, and they're all in right now. When they're in, they are in. But then when they're not, they're not. There's no consistency and their habits go from one end of the spectrum to the other. If you take that person and you compare it to the person who just says, you know what, like, I can't do all that, but I could work out twice a week. And I can eat well. I can plan my meals Monday through Saturday, but Sunday, I'm gonna be honest, I might just go off the rails. Like, you compare those people, and while one looks like they're burning with progress and they're on fire and they're losing the weight and they're doing all the things, the other one doesn't seem to be really doing much. But when you measure that out and you look at consistency, the guy who seems to be moving slow is the one that's building a new identity because he's doing everything that he says he's going to do. And man, when you can show up and go, hey, I said I was going to go to the gym today and I did. I said I was going to drink my water today and I did. I said I was going to have some prayer in the morning and I did. These are all easy to do and easy not to do, right? That's the person who goes, you know what? I take pride in who I am. I'm the type of person who does what they say they're going to do.
And how do we create
A
that?
much different position. Yeah.
Right, man. And how do we create that identity? Um, and so we do build proof, but what does that identity look like, right? Because I know you wanted to go over that.
Yeah.
And I just did a presentation on this for my buddy Aram with the Real Coaches Summit. And it was entitled, "Is your client's identity holding them back from long-term progress?" And
That's
the
good.
answer is yes, yes. What does that look like? Well, my identity before was that of a monster who didn't matter. What is it now? It is a beloved child of God who is a strong, happy, healthy Christian man who leaves everybody he meets better than he found them.
That's different.
Now, how do I make my decisions? If it doesn't align with that identity, I don't do it.
Mm.
Now, here's the thing. Well, I can't identify as healthy because not, unlike you, I don't have a six pack. I didn't always have a six pack. I didn't start there. So
Right.
what does that mean? Well, Jay, if you're working, right, you're going to go on vacation. Let's say you're going to take this time and actually just be present with your family. Are you on vacation? Let's say you're going to Mexico. You're going to an all inclusive. You're going to have a blast, man. Your kids are going to eat all the ice cream until they puke. And you're going to, just be eating ceviche until you get like food poisoning or something ridiculous. Are you on vacation when you get to Mexico the second you clock out of work? If, right? Like when you're at work, do you say, all right, I'm on vacation. It's time to go on vacation?
Mm.
Or do you wait till you're in Mexico?
Yeah.
When the second you clock out of work, you're on vacation.
That's right.
You start packing you may get to work that morning and be like, not today. No, I'm on vacation.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna learn today. Like, no, no. So why is it that we're not a healthy or fit individual until we get the six pack?
Mm.
No. The second you decide to make that shift is when, if you say, like, because to me, the goal with my clients is not to be skinny and miserable, it's to be fit, happy, and healthy. So once you say that's who I want to be, you can start aligning your actions with that. And one day you will look down and be like, oh my gosh, I got here. Just like you wake up from a nap on the plane and you're like, oh my God, I'm in Mexico. Yes, you already have proof. You have the proof because you did it on vacation. You did it somewhere else. I'll speak to the ladies. Like, if you were in a really crappy marriage and he treated you like trash and you managed to leave, yes, you tried to leave 100 times. Yes, you knew it was toxic. Yes, you knew you should have left. But when you finally did, it was worth it. Take that proof and apply it over here.
There's evidence.
You have evidence somewhere else in your life.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like, you have the proof. Just apply the lessons there.
And it's
So
every
that's how you create the identity. Now that's a broad spectrum, like, but that's what I work with my clients on is that micro proof, that micro identity and creating those things. But it's not faking it. It's facing it each and every day, saying, like, if somebody cuts me off in traffic, me not yelling at them. Yes, that's my initial impulse to flick them off and maybe run them off the road. Sure, it is. That doesn't align with me. But just if I do flick them off and run them off the road, let's hope I don't wreck somebody. But am I going to stumble? Yes. Like 2 months ago, I did it. And I was like, tossing up a storm, and that's not who I am. But right after I got done, I went, that doesn't align, buddy. Do it better. Learn your lesson. Keep going.
move
I
on.
don't just revert back to an alcoholic because I cussed somebody out one time.
Let's hope
Like,
not.
you know what I mean? Like, if you stub your toe, you don't chop the toe off.
Mm.
If you get a flat tire, you don't flatten the other full three. But we do it with our behavior change all the time. So I make light of it because when we look at it from a broad picture, it's really silly.
Mm.
Like, laugh at yourself a little bit, like, dude, that was really dumb. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So I use this thing with my clients, and I've this has changed my life, and I don't know where I heard it or what, and it's in my book too, but it's the power of what if, or it's to act as if, right? So, hey, maybe you're not a healthy and fit individual, but what if you were? How would you show up? How would a healthy and fit individual act today? Well, they would probably have their workouts on the calendar. They would probably have a plan for what they were going to eat to support their goals. They would probably have some movement built in throughout the day. They would probably prioritize hydration and proper sleep and all the things, right? Like and this is the struggle, man, with being a coach sometimes is the information is out there. We all know what we're supposed to do, but we're not always doing it. And so we're always looking for a different answer. Well, listen, Matthew, I know I'm supposed to eat, prioritize my protein and, I'm supposed to get enough calories in and make sure that I'm getting, water, and I need to sleep, whatever, 7, 8 hours a night. I need, I know all that, but like, what else? It's like, no, that's it. I mean, that's it. There's
That
nothing
really
else. So why aren't we doing it? It's because we don't believe that we can follow through because we haven't in the past. So we're looking for an easier route. And so the whole act as if thing, like, hey, you know what? I might not have a great marriage right now. I do, by the way. I'm just saying I'm very happy with my marriage. As an example, my wife listen to this and be like, you tell everybody we have a bad marriage. Love my wife. But anyway, let's just say I had a terrible marriage that I wasn't happy with. Well, maybe I don't know how to fix that today, but if I had an amazing marriage, what would I do? I'd probably do the damn dishes, because that comes up every single time, right? Like, I would probably affirm my wife and send her a text message, you know, not a nasty picture because all I want to do is have sex, but something telling her that she's amazing and I'm grateful for her, right? Speaking to the guys now, I'm trying to help these guys out.
do
Um,
the dishes and don't send a dick pic. There you go. That's
Exactly. Right, right, right. That's where I was getting at with that. Send an affirming message that is not going to elicit sex immediately, right? So we know all these things, guys. So look, you might be listening to this going, okay, all this sounds great, but I don't have any evidence. No, you have evidence. If you made the decision to turn on this podcast episode and you've listened to it for this,
boom.
you can do it. That means that you can commit to going to the gym and show up, or commit to eating better, a better meal, and do it. So like, sometimes, I love the face it till you make it. Like, I've heard the whole fake it till you make it thing, and I love that. But sometimes you might not feel like you are the person you want to be, and you don't have evidence, and there's imposter syndrome, but just act as if. Show up with the energy, with the actions, with the intentions that you would have if you were that person. And I promise you, your life will transform. I do this every day. I walk into a podcast going, man, like, this guy Matthew's a stud. He's sharp. He's hanging out with people that I aspire to be around. Like, I'm nervous. Like, do I have it in me to interview this guy and to make good content? Well, maybe not. But if I did, how would I show up? I would show up confident. I would show up powerful. And that's how I operate. And it's huge. So
Well, and it's so funny. Like, we have that mindset, right? And here I am before I get on reading Proverbs, making sure, asking, God to allow me to be open to, echo his words and to speak with love and to speak with wisdom, going, man, this guy Jay's really got his stuff together. I
yeah,
hope I can provide value to him and his audience.
yeah.
We're all doing it, guys.
Yeah.
Um, and it, I'll ask a simple question. Do you really think that I'm where I want to be? No,
Mm-mm.
no, no, not even close. And do you think that I have imposter syndrome a lot of times? Yeah. Yep. Do you think that I get done with clients and go, wow, I really messed that up, or I could have done that better? Yep. And I'm going to tell you what else. I have the blessing to call some of the best coaches in the world my friends, and they do it too.
Wow.
So, guys, listen, like, what does this look like? Here's another tool that I use with my clients. On our check ins, I ask these questions. Guys, do this for yourself. I'm just going to give them to you. Like, I'll give you my tools. It's up to you to use them. That's why I have a job, is because a lot of people just don't use them.
Right.
When we do our weekly check ins, it's, what did you do well this week? What are you proud of yourself for? What roadblocks did you encounter? What roadblocks do you foresee coming? How would you handle them? And if you don't know, how would the person you want to become handle them?
Mm.
How can I support you? If you have a lot of the answers, it's that second guessing and it's that imposter syndrome that gets us. And it's that proof to the contrary that we have built up, that we've earned.
Mm.
The good news is we're the sculptor and the clay. We are the writer of our story. what narrative of your story are you telling yourself to either hold yourself back or propel yourself forward? And that little voice, my friend Jamie, and she's amazing. I'll send you her info. I listened to her speak this past week, and it happened to me, and I realized it this past weekend when I told you I was in tears. And there were just all these like negative voices in my head, guys. And I'm saying this because I know we're closing in on time,
Yeah.
but just to validate these things that we think in our head. And I was like, man, I'm not showing up the best I can. And I can do better here, and I can do better there, and I can do better here, and I can do better there. Guys, I'm going to tell you this, for every new level, there's a new devil.
Hmm.
And a lot of y'all out here trying to beat the final boss in Final Fantasy when you ain't beat the first level yet. So you don't have the skills necessary to beat the final boss. Level up, continue to level up. But what I heard was, in all those voices in my head of you're not doing good enough and hey, you can do better and all of this, blah, 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 was that younger version of Matthew going, you're not cool enough.
Hmm.
You don't have a date. Nobody's going to go to prom with you. All of those things. That little Matthew is going to be in the back seat. As long as I keep him in the back seat, he took the driver's seat for a little while. And I looked at him and went, hey, bud, it's okay. You're safe now.
Hmm.
You can take the back seat. I got it. And that is going to happen to all of us. So just look at them and go, hey, whatever version of that self and that narrative that you have that is in your head, that is whispering in your ear, you suck. You're not good enough. You can't do this. You'll always be a failure. You'll always be fat. You'll always be these things. It's okay. You're safe now.
Hmm.
I can drive. And you're a beloved child of God and you're safe. You're okay. And if you don't believe it, reach out to one of us. I guarantee you we'll make time.
Hmm. Powerful, man. Powerful. I think you and I both have our identity set in the same place. And if you are a believer, if you're not, that's okay. Welcome. And, this your journey, right? But for those of us that do believe, there's some big promises and hope and like a place to be solid in what the Bible says about who we are. And we're more than conquerors. And we are beautifully and uniquely created to do amazing things. And when you can just, if everything else goes out the window, if you know you're a child of the Most High, the one that exalts all other things and trumps any other problem or concern or whatever, um, what he says about us is amazing. And for those of you guys that have that, like I want to encourage you to lean into that because sometimes we can't see our gifts. Sometimes we can't see the things that, we were made to do and created for. It's like there's a lack of clarity there. And the other piece of that is I hear you talking about these associations that you have, Matthew. Like, dude, it is so imperative for me to get around people like you and to get around people that can speak into my life and see my gifts because I don't see what most people see. I go, man, like, yeah, Jay's, he's getting it together, but look, he's got all this stuff and he doesn't have a college education. And trust me, I have these same stories at every level. And then maybe I level up a little bit and I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I can, but that's about all. Maybe I can, but that's about all. And I sit there for a while until I get in a room. I just did my last a couple podcasts ago about this. I get in a room and people go, Jay, what are you waiting on, man? Like, what's holding you back? Like, what are you have such an incredible skill set and talents in this area. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, really? You think so? Yeah. You think that? You're up in my mind, how we think. You're up here and you think I can move? Yeah, dude, you got it. Like, go for it. And we get permission from other people that I believe God puts in our lives to speak into our lives and to pull those things out where we may not even know how to do that. And so, dude, that's why I'm like honored to be connected with you. And I just want to tell you, bro, like you're going to change so many people's lives. You're already changing so many people's lives, but just reading the little snippet of the book that you sent me, man, there are men and women out there who they're waiting on that book. And that book is going to be the thing that totally changes the trajectory of their life, maybe saves their life. And man, I'm thrilled to be connected to you, brother. I want you to know I love you. I respect you. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Um, and I'm just honored to be in your circle.
I feel exactly the same way, and I'm tearing up for the second time this podcast. And the like the man, like the deep rooted Southern man in me wants to be like, man, shut up.
Yeah.
But like, but I feel the exact same way. And I'm truly humbled and truly honored to call you friend. And there's so much I'm honored to get to learn from you. And I hope that I can impart the same. And anybody listening to this in the future, reach out to me. I will. You know me, I will respond. And I'll probably respond with a voice message.
Yep.
I don't care how busy I get, I will always respond. It may
Mm-hmm.
not be right away,
Yep.
but I will respond. Um, and if I may end with this final thing,
Yeah.
this final message, and I know I've said it twice, guys, you're the only person with your fingerprint.
Mm.
You're the only person with your DNA. You were made for a reason. And how cool is it that if your parents taught you to be a certain way or your society taught you to be a certain way and you don't like it, that you get to break those chains?
Mm.
How cool is that? That's not a pressure, it's a privilege. And you're worth it. And if you get to break those chains and you take that next step and you break those generational curses, or maybe it's the first generation of the curse, that you get to lay the groundwork for every generation of yours thereafter.
Mm.
And you're worth it, and so are they. How cool is that?
Amazing, bro. Where can people find you, Matthew?
I'm pretty simple, man. I'm a dude. I'm gonna go back into being tough now.
There you go.
Um, Matthew Headden on Facebook, Matthew Headden on Instagram, Matthew Headden coaching on YouTube, where I have the honor and privilege, and hopefully you will bless me with this too, of having some really incredible people on that channel that are just brilliant, just downright brilliant. Um, and that's where they can find me. I am doing a 2-week challenge coming up on working on identity and everything like that, and it's free.
Awesome.
It's going to be very cool. So, Matthew Headden, just across the board.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that challenge. I'd love to be a part of it. Love to
Yeah,
support in any way that I can. If I can serve you in any way, brother, or anybody that you're associated with, please reach out. And really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're busy. Thank you so much.
thank you, Jay. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bro.